Yeah, yeah. I love Denver. Who's anybody here from the Denver area? Anybody? Yeah. Matt, you look like you can be from Denver, man. You sure you're not a Denver guy, man?
I'm Iowa all the way.
Well, that's pretty close to Denver, man.
Only 10 hours.
I'm just messing with you. So thank you. I had a couple kind words popped in there, and thank y'all for that. Like I said, this is to me, I'm a big believer in that. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We do things well. We do things wrong. But from my feedback so far for this year, everyone seems to be a good chunk of people have been, really moved by the training and the reports I'm getting back, folks have been impacted in a very positive way. So thank y'all for those very kind words. Y'all made my day. I'm telling you. And as I mentioned this a little earlier. I got a big smile on my face because my daughter and son-in-law are here visiting, and they will be married for a year this like 2 weeks, and so that's exciting. And I'm going to give my age away by saying this, but last week my wife and I celebrated 32 years together. So that's a long time, y'all. That's like that's a whole adult child. All right, some of you got to realize you got to put yourself on mute. We are hearing way too many conversations. And one conversation was a little intense, so I just think we need to make sure we're like putting ourselves on mute, so it's just between you and the person, not us. We don't want to, that's your conversation, okay? So this is it, y'all. This is the last one for this year, and look like and Ivy, please make sure you send me that email so I can put you in the list and get you in there for the conference and Kendra, I got my people, so we're good.
I will.
Yeah, I got my four folks that's going to help me co-facilitate that one session. So, anywho, let's kind of get started. So, uh, you know, it's hard for me to believe we're at the end of the year already. It seems like we just started. Is it me or am I getting old? Like they say, as you get older, time flies more. I don't know. I'm only 32. So I just kind of feel like, okay, that was a joke. Y'all didn't hear that, but 32 times two. But it's just amazing how time flies. So great to see y'all showing up. You guys have this group here, man. You just showed. I know Israel. I'm laughing too, man. Have showed up in numbers, and I appreciate that. So let's dive in a little bit. Let me see if I can get this thing up here and running, and then we're gonna dive in just a little bit. Why is this acting weird on me? Where are you? All right. All righty. My wife and I, my daughter, I forgot to mention also, my youngest daughter turned 16 the same day of my anniversary. So my anniversary is on the 20th, and my daughter turned 16 on the 20th. And I have a question for you all. What do you think was the most important of the two? 16. She made that perfectly clear. So she had a sweet 16 party, and this young man that's interested in her showed up at the party. And so, I just had to smile and introduce myself. I knew who he was. I shouldn't say introduce myself, but he was a little bit nervous, but I didn't do the overly intense dad thing on him. I could have, but I wanted him to enjoy the party. So anyway, so we had a very interesting week over the last week or so. So today is it, my friends. We're at the end, and wow, it's hard to believe that we are at the end. I just want to say again, thank you for allowing me to serve. When AFOP puts out the RFP for this, there's multiple people that they bring to these to the table, and so to be selected is to me is major, and so I'm just honored. And I'm honored that you showed up. If we get to the end of the year and like three of y'all showed up, then well, we kind of dropped the ball on this here. but you all show up, in numbers, and I appreciate that. So thank you for allowing me to serve. But I want to start off with something a little motivational. Then we're going to go into some content here, as we always do. This is a trivia question. Anybody know who this guy is? I got to stump you. I'm seeing some stump looks on your faces there. I don't know this guy. I don't think y'all know who this guy is. Anybody want to take a guess who this guy is here?
Give us a hint.
All right. I'll give you his known title. Okay, and you can't Google it because Jessica, I see you about to Google. I know you will. I know you'll Google or snap or something. He's called the father of modern psychology. Ooh,
Pavlov,
no,
maybe.
no, it's not.
No?
That's in this. No, that's in the same boat, But now, let me go back. I'm sorry. How did I go forward? Let me go back. It went forward. You're supposed to go back. Go back. There. All right. He went to Harvard University. He was a professor at Harvard University. All right. And so
You may have even told us in another meeting, honestly.
what's that?
I said you may have even referred to him in another meeting.
I think I have, but I want to come back and refer again.
Well,
There's
that'd be great because I don't remember.
That's okay. Well, his name is William James, and he's known as the father of modern psychology. Yeah, William James. And let me share something that he did, and I just want to do this as a way of motivating you in this last session, and then we'll go into some stuff here. He was a researcher, and his greatest research, you may want to look him up. He has some of the most amazing quotes. I mean, his quotes to me are just, even though he was born 900 years ago, I still love his quotes to this day. And so no, you got a few people trying. No, all right. So but he did research on human potential. A lot of research on human potential. Some of his research is some of the best research out there ever on human potential. And he got, I think, about 45 years into his research, he finally just kind of laughed at all this research. He said, I've been researching for 45 years, right? And he said, thank you all for putting your names in the chat too as well. He said, you know what? He said, all this research, he didn't call it a waste of time, but he said he could have, saved him some time. And he came up with this one quote as a result of this research. And this is what he said. He said, the greatest discovery of my generation is that a person can change their life by changing their attitudes of mind. The greatest discovery of my generation is that a person can change their life by changing their attitudes of mind. As we get ready to wrap up this year, with all that we've learned and all of the different facets of training that we offered, I want to give you a quote, and I want you to do this in the chat feature where you can respond to this quote. And here it is. All right. He said, the greatest discovery of my generation is a person can change their life by changing their attitudes of mind. His research proves one thing, and that is this. Please type this in the chat feature. Attitude is everything. If you could type that in the chat feature. Attitude is everything. All right, as many of you that feel compelled. Attitude is everything. Look at you all. Thank you so much. Attitude is everything. Every one of our trainings this year, all right, were designed, my friends, right, to us to reshape our attitude about certain aspects of the work that we do. Because this is the thing. Once attitude changes, right? Thank you, Jessica, 3 times. Right? Attitude changes, my response to situations change. The way I see things change. And we're in the industry, thank you, Jane, I see you there, Maria. We're in an industry that is deeply connected to maintaining an attitude that helps us to get the results that we want. And so I just wanted to share that quote because Dr. James basically was saying in his research, right? All of this research is cool, but it's really the attitude we take to our work that makes a difference. And I would dare say, as the father of 4 kids, the attitude we take to life. And as a man that's been married for 32 years, the attitude we take to marriage. Even though she tries me sometimes. You didn't hear that, though. Y'all didn't hear that. Because I'm the perfect husband. No, you didn't hear that either. But, so keep that in mind. Attitude is always something that could be worked on. Like, it's really interesting for me. Like, you all see me training here. And I do this work, and I'm so committed to it. But if you just met me when I was 15 years old, you wouldn't want me to train you, because my attitude was not the best when I was younger. But as I matured in life, I start realizing in order to achieve my outcomes in life, I need to have the right attitude. And I found great mentors who helped me to do as such. And so I'll say this as well, just one last nugget before we move in to this. I would, no matter what position you are in life, I would always say get a mentor. Always have a person in your life that you can, yeah. Did he practice Pavlov's research to come to that conclusion? I'm not sure. It's real. He may have. I don't know. They all feed off
Because
each other.
he always focused on changing attitude through
Mm,
emotional and
mm-hmm,
also like taste aversion. Giving somebody
mm.
good and then the bad, and see
Yeah,
what happens when
gotcha.
you
Mm,
learn. It's learned through either physical or
mm,
emotional
mm.
fear. Sometimes
Oh wow,
fear.
interesting. That
Yeah,
was Pavlov.
that
Pavlov.
was
He's,
Pablo's. Yeah,
yeah, because the only thing I know about Pavlov is the Pavlov dog. Remember the Pavlov dog thing, where
yeah.
he put the chain around the dog's neck, and then
Hmm.
he would go with so far, and then the dog would only go so far.
Well,
Do you?
and it
Yeah.
was and it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it about changing
Mm-hmm.
I guess attitudes or things we do that, or how
Mm-hmm.
to change things we do that could be affected us negatively or positively
Gotcha.
to come up with a result. And it could sometimes could be emotional, it could be physical.
Yeah.
The taste aversion aspect of it, you give it somebody that was bad, right? So change of behavior. So things
Yes.
like that. And I'm thinking in his perspective, how did he come about that all this research was just about attitude? And yeah, how do we change our
Yeah.
attitude?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
was it that
Mm.
he then went through all this and was like, well, wait, it was always there.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was. I think for him, it's an awareness that was always there. Like, no matter what he probably came up with his thesis or hypotheses and all that, he probably looked at it and said, "There's a commonality here." You know what I mean? And that is the attitude is affecting everything. So that's where I think he came up with that statement. But there's others who have had other research, Dr. Eleanor Levy, and there's others who've done similar. I'm a kind of a research I don't know. I don't know what I call myself. I like reading research because it's fascinating to me to see, because I'm in the people business. It's fascinating to see some of these things that people come up with that affect our day to day life. So, but somebody said, and Cheryl said Pavlov was cruel.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But he
I
did
hear
get
you.
attitude changed.
Yeah, I hear you, Cheryl. I really do. So,
Or should we say behaviors?
yeah, behaviors change. So anyway, so I just want to say this to you. You guys got something from me, but to be honest with you, I got something from you. You know, and I just want to say thank you for that. I really do because, you know, to me, like when I train, I'm either doing an individual training for an organization, I'm doing a series of training for an organization, and like with you all, I may be doing an ongoing like for like a year or so, you know. And again, I'm not saying I was telling Kendra this. I don't want to seem like I'm placating or anything, but the truth is, the way I connected with you guys is not the way I've connected with a lot of other people. You know what I mean? And the reason why there seemed to be a lot of synergy here with this group, like there's some people that are there that don't want to be there, and I don't know, maybe we have some of that to some extent here, but the point is, it seems like everybody comes prepared to share, got smiles on their face like Carla does right now. I see her smile over there, and and so the thing is, and Jessica, I can see her smile. Y'all only two I can see right now, but So the community, I really looked at you. I said, man, this is and I've talked about you at conferences and events. That this is a sector that really supports and encourages each other. That's a rare and powerful thing. I also enjoy seeing your growth. Like even as of today, some of you sent to me the document I sent you yesterday, and I read them in awe. Like, wow, man, to say that people just have made these kind of changes throughout this year, it was just breathtaking, and then the depth, because, we've had good conversation. We just didn't cover topics. We challenged assumptions, and connected leadership concepts to real situations and relationships. I built relationships. Some of you I've literally know. Then I saw some of you at the combined conference, and it was like a family reunion to me. Like, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you outside that little box, But it was nice, and for us to have fun, embrace, and things like that. So I just want to say thank you, because it wasn't just, I think, me training you. You helped me to become a better person, and that means a lot to me. So just want to mention that. So there's just a few things I want to mention, because we covered a lot this year, and I just think that I really want us to just hone in on this word mastery a little bit, because I know when I can hear you again. I guess I'm gonna have to. Let me see 1 second here, because I hate to do this, but I gotta stop and then go mute all, because you can hear that somebody's stuff there. Okay. All right. Here we go. And so the reason why you heard me say mastery, and we had some assignments attached to it, because again, to me, training is only as relevant as application. You know what I mean? And that's why I love getting your documents to see how you're applying the information. Or in the case management track, the workforce development track, theirs as well. Because after 20 something years of training, I realized that training doesn't always stick with people. How many of y'all would agree with that? I mean, come on, let's be real. Seriously. You do this stuff. I'm just being real with you. And thank you for your thumbs up. You know what I'm talking about. And you go on back to doing what you've always done. I'm not saying you, but people. Why is that? Somebody tell me why that is. I just would love to hear your thoughts. Or you can type it in the chat feature. Why do we go back so easily to the norms that we've established, even after we've learned some new, solid, concrete information? Somebody want to share that with me? And again, this is just a general statement. I'm not pointing at anybody. Any thoughts on that? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's kind of what we're used to. We fall back on that because it's I don't know how to say it in English. It's just like it's like not tradition, but it's like what
Yeah.
what you've
Yeah.
always done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right on saying, like Dr. Collins says, change is hard. Carla said, learn behavior. Israel said, comfort. Brittany said, creatures of habit. I mean, it's just, all these are right. It's just so easy. And so I think that, to be honest with you, change is difficult. You're right. And I think this is the challenge of leadership, if you can hear what I'm saying. Because your ultimate goal is you want people to not stay in the same mode. You know what I mean? You want them, in some way to be able to advance themselves to where they're doing things in a different manner. You know what I mean? Like when I ran my workforce programs years ago, because I keep referring to, I was a contractor as well under the Workforce Investment Act. I told my team, I said, if we're the same people this year that we were, that next year that we are this year, we have not grown. We just haven't advanced. We should be doing things more effectively. We should be doing things better. We should have greater impact in our community. But you don't get there unless you do things more with more intention, a little bit at a time. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. So what all this mastery stuff is about is it's about creating a paradigm in which we're continuing to grow. I was so moved yesterday. And I don't think, okay, coach, you flexing again. I'm not flexing. I'm just got to share a little testimony from my life. And you get these moments, you got to enjoy them. So yesterday we have these convenience stores called Wawa out here. It's like They're all over the place in this part of the country. And so I just got done working out, and I want to go get something cold to drink. So I ran into Wawa. I grabbed my Vita Coco because that's my go-to drink, and a little coconut water. And I walked up to the counter. There's this young lady in there. She probably like 21, 22, 23 years old. She said, "You look like you just worked out." I said, "You know," and I joke with her like I joke. You know, you hear me how I joke. I said, "Not bad for an 85-year-old, right?" She looked at me. She laughed. She said, "You're not 85." She said, "You can't be any older than 40." And I looked at her. I said, "If I can lean over the counter and give you a hug." Girl, I said, "I'm a little bit older than 40." She said, "But whatever you're doing, it's working." And that's what I mean by progressive. When I first started working out, I hated working out. Do I have to go to the gym again? You know, but guess what? Little bit after little bit after little bit, guess what? Now I don't even think about it. I wake up, roll out the bed, and go like clockwork. The reason why I've mastered that, it is a part of how I operate. And I want y'all to get this because our last one, I want to drive some points home. You know, like learning is one thing, but I'm telling you, mastery is another, you know? And so thank y'all for those compliments. I saw some of those claps and all that there. Thank you. But leadership mastery isn't about remembering everything from a training. It's about consistently applying what you've learned. That's why you got the mastery sheets. It wasn't to make your life more difficult to do extra work. They weren't that difficult. You could take 5 minutes to do any of them. It's just that when you go back to apply it, that's all. And so why? Because you're taking the time out of your day. Right now, you guys probably got 50 things on your desk you could be doing, but you're here. And so my thing is like, if you're here, let's do this stuff. You know, let's go back and to apply it so that we can advance. And I think one of the keys is when your organization can collectively do that. Like I mentioned my organization. I told them, I said, you know, I got the Walmart philosophy in the Japanese leadership philosophy. We're all leaders within this organization. You know, Walmart, I spoke at Walmart, the president was acting like an associate because that's what they called themselves, associates. So everybody played a significant role in the growth of that organization. Everybody in my organization played a significant role. Why? We were all working together. So, but we had to apply things. So recognize, you know, the situation. See clearly what's happening around you and what kind of leadership moment it requires. Now, this is this form of leadership. Choose the right response. So remember, I love seeing how yesterday somebody sent in their sheet and they said they got my response is my responsibility. I thought that was so cool that you remembered that. I appreciate that. I can't remember who it was. Practice consistently, you know, and then reflect, adjust, and teach. That's when you go from leader to mentor, because you now have learned enough where you can now educate people on what you've learned. Would y'all agree with that? Do you understand what I mean by that? Like the only way you can really effectively teach people is when you go through stuff. You know, you can't just teach them just because it's a good theory. Like I do this training, but I was a corporate leader. I was workforce leader, you know, community leader. I've had 1 million leadership scenarios, written books about it. And so I can now share with you insights from 30 years of leadership. You know what I mean? You know, so the mastery question is this: what will people experience differently because I learned this? So whatever that topic may be, how is my team going to be better? How am I going to be better? How's my organization going to be better? All right. This is all mindset stuff I'm talking about right now, you know? And so that's the ultimate goal, because the real test begins after training. So the first area, there's 4 areas I'm going to talk about that we went through some of the trainings on, just to kind of loop back around to them, because I consider them really important as far as our advancement. So if you remember, we had a session on leading through change. And I put this statement in here, and it's the truth. You know, change doesn't ask permission. And in farm workers programs, it arrives constantly. Now, that's not just farm worker programs. That's all programs. All right? And so we got to understand that change does not Has anybody ever gotten a phone call from Change and said, I want to come visit you for a while? Like your phone rings and like, hey, this is Change calling you up. We're gonna come visit your organization for a little bit. I know y'all. I know Coach is crazy. I know. Just roll with me on this. No, change is inevitable. And I want to see this. I'm going to come out of this right here. How many of you would admit this year has been a year of change? I just want to see like emojis or thumbs up. I don't know what you all, but I'm telling you, this has been like an interesting year. You know, look at all of y'all. You all look at. There's a lot of people saying it, man. Change. You know, and I'm looking at y'all with a big smile on your face, but sometimes it wasn't smiles in this face. There's some tears in these eyes. It's been a crazy, slightly brutal year. But you know what? As a leader, you know what you got to do? Just like I'm doing for y'all right now. You just keep showing up. You keep delivering. You know, you keep your posture. You keep your, you know, that's right. Jessica, change is the only thing that's consistent. But can I give you a little quote, please? This is tired to think about. I always like to study little things, but change is important. Change and innovation go hand in hand. Please keep that in mind. Yep. Yeah, Real Colors. That's like that. That's a good program. Change and innovation. You can't innovate if you don't change, and you won't change if you don't innovate. So I always like to tell people, think about change not as this drudgery and challenging thing that we have to do. It actually could be innovation, you know? And I like what Carlos said. We had Real Colors training. I know the lady who created Real Colors, Carolyn Khalil. She was an amazing woman. And a question was asked, what don't we like about change? It's unpredictable. Sometimes it can be negative, but it's growth. Very good. Yep. I like that. So Diana says, she said, and my body's breakdown, but my attitude, that's it. You know what, Diana? You just keep pushing it, girl. Get in that gym, do some stuff, walk a few miles. You'll be all right. It's never too late to get going. All right. So the thing about it is, change is change. Do you agree with me with that? I just don't want to say it because I'm not a sage on the stage. Desiree, do you agree with that? Is change and innovation go hand in hand? Talk to me about that.
I would say yes. It's one of those things where it's like, how can I put it in terms like going through one to get to the other?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like when we be talking about, like you were talking about in a marriage,
Yep.
gotta compromise. So I think it goes hand in hand, kind of like that. Like it goes back to when you were asking, why is it so hard for us to change? But there we missed a big portion of it. What can I do to implement the change?
Bingo.
Even when it's
Yeah.
hard. So yeah.
Bingo. Like, let me tell you something. I'm not going to talk about marriage too long, but Desiree brought it up. So, I'm going to jump in there. You get my moment. But, you go through a lot of evolutions when you have 32 years. And the person that you were married to at year one is not the same person at 32. So guess what? As the marriage evolves, guess who else has to evolve? We do. And that's with anything. As the organization evolves, we need to evolve. You see what I'm saying? I mean, so the thing about it is, it's like if I'm unwilling to change, it could be like I'm married 32 years, but I'm still acting like the first.
It ain't gonna last them 32 years now.
It ain't gonna happen. But it's the same thing from an organization thing, Zach. You know what I'm talking about? If we can be 10 years in and still operate like we're in the first year if we're unwilling to change. So that's why I say change and innovation go hand in hand. So this guy said this. We have marriage mentors. So this one couple, we know been married 55 years. Here we go talking about marriage again. But they've been married. He said, some people have been married 55 years. And then and he said this, and some people have been married 1 year 55 times. He said they're still acting like the first year. So, so the thing about this, it's pretty cool, right? I like that, man. That's pretty wise. But the point I'm making is we all have to, and I want to talk about marriage. And trust me, I'm just joking about all this because I don't know where everybody at with this whole marriage thing. But I'm just using that as an example. So we just have to understand the goal and change is that we want to evolve. We want to become. So when we think about it, there's just certain aspects. So we want, there's different things that you and I know. I've been seeing this AI one a lot. People are trying to figure out AI and how do we use it, and how do we get our clients to use it, and you know, I mean, the funding and policy. The funding thing is just like we're trying to. All this is happening. This changes and that changing. The workforce needs, staff transitions. I just spoke to someone yesterday that said they're down like 10 people, and they're struggling trying to get folks in, and it's just so all these things are challenging from a leadership standpoint. But as a leader, we must, be in a position where we're ready to address it in some way. I like this statement. It's the truth. I don't need to have every answer. All right. I don't. But I do have to help my people navigate the uncertainty. That's all. I remember when last September September and October, when everything kind of the budget situation and all, and I had so many conversations because I have a lot of people we worked with over the years, and I have one of my customers that we work with in a place called Chester County, Pennsylvania. Her name is Jeanette Romaine, and I remember talking to Jeanette, and it just was so motivating to see how she was encouraging her staff during that time because everything was uncertain. And I told her, I said, I'm really proud of you as a leader. I said, because a lot of folks are really scrambling. Everybody's nervous. They don't know if they're going to get this funding. But you're navigating your people through this process. So I've always respected you as a leader, but this kicks it up 10 notches. So that's the thing with leadership. The leader, I give you a little funny thing because you got to put funny in some of this sometimes. You know what the leader is like? You ever see that thing about a duck in water or a goose in water? Like they're floating on top and they look all smooth, but under the water, that's it, Jessica. Those little feet moving, man. And I think that's how it is. You're like, you're gonna see me looking smooth, but underwater. So that's why self-care is important too, because we got to make sure that we do that. So just clear, just a little something. We like to give these little acronyms and all that, but communicate early, listen first, explain why, allow ownership, and reinforce progress. That's just a little bit of a, when you're talking about when you're talking about change, something to keep in mind. This big one, this C, I'm not going to do all of them. But the C is important. Don't allow the rumor mill to become communication strategy. Anybody ever seen that before? I've worked in companies before where the rumor mill becomes a thing, and it starts with like a person saying something and then everybody buying into it, And so if you see that there's some like early, that's what we're going to talk about conflict in a moment. We want to get ahead of it early and then listen, explain things of that nature. How can I move my team from resistance to understanding to ownership? That's the ultimate goal. All right. So I like clear. Communicate early, listen first, explain why, allow ownership, and reinforce progress. All right. And so that's kind of the leading through change one that we went through. Then this one here is really interesting. Conflict resolution. All right. Conflict is often a signal, especially if it's like a collective thing. It's a signal, not a failure. Great leaders don't avoid it. They learn how to navigate with skill, clarity, and care for the relationship. All right, so let me jump off of this here. Let's have a conversation. Would anybody agree that conflict is a signal? What does that mean when you hear that? Anybody want to chime in and share from a leadership perspective? Especially if you see. No, go right ahead. Yep.
Some people are unteachable and uncoachable. So their natural response to any type of conversation is conflict. because a lot of times people like to deflect their own issues that they refuse to deal with up front. And once you do
Interesting.
that, you stunt your growth,
Yeah.
whether it's
Let me.
leadership or anything.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. And so, how would a leader, from your perspective, or anyone can chime in and chime? Let's talk about this because thank you, Desiree. That's really you're right. How would a leader handle that? Anybody have any thoughts? You got a lot of leaders on there, so I would think somebody can maybe jump in and share a thought. How do
How
you
they
handle
gonna
that?
handle that conflict?
Yeah, that difficult situation. If somebody's unwilling to, you know, unwilling to cooperate, and you talk to them over and over again, you know, how does a leader deal with that?
Getting to the root of the problem, for one. Sometimes
They
people might be
listen.
problematic because they don't feel heard or they feel pushed aside.
Bingo. That's good. That's it. Yeah, getting to the root of the problem. Is it
Is
best to
the
do it? Go right ahead,
sorry,
please.
is the opportunity to make that change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an opportunity because I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person, this is just me. I'd rather know what a person is thinking than have them keep it in. And I have no idea what it is. Anybody understand that from a leadership? That's tough from a leadership perspective. Because as a leader, now you're guessing. Would you agree with that, Zach? What's your thoughts on it, man? I know you're a wise man. What wisdom you got for us on this?
Well, thank you. I'm not sure if I'm a wise man, but
You're a wise man.
I
I know.
appreciate the
I've been working with you all year long.
compliment.
I know wisdom. I know wisdom. Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Well, I guess just to start off, I mean, if we're talking about conflict, I mean, is it sort
hmm
of like an interpersonal conflict between like one person and another, or more like a general
hmm
conflict organizational wise?
It could be
Because,
both. It could be
okay,
both. hmm
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think it was Desiree who said, I think I agree with Desiree. It's like sometimes conflict is just a sign of
hmm
people feeling that they've been overlooked or that their sort of voices aren't amplified, or it could be a sign of just sort of general anxiety. Like someone might
hmm
have kind of an interpersonal conflict with you
Right.
because maybe there's some kind of overall project you're both working on, and there's like I feel like sometimes like what you were saying, other people were saying
hmm
earlier is like no one really addresses it. So you're like someone might just feel that whatever
hmm
the role they've been given or the task, like maybe they haven't been adequately given the steps to do it
hmm
to the kind of quality that they need to. And
Yep.
then it kind of compounds on each other. So it's like, you might have to go and step in, help them.
Yep.
And they're actually
hmm
kind of frustrated with you because they feel
Yeah.
like whatever sort of base need of getting it done, it hasn't been addressed. And so then
Right.
like that can sometimes create conflict. I've seen something like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
exactly know how necessarily to
Yeah.
address it, but I think it's sort of like
Yeah.
two people kind of meet. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll help you
Yeah.
really understand what needs to be done. You kind of have to accept
hmm
that you need my help or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something to that degree.
That's good. Yeah.
That's
Thank
something
you, man.
I'm
hmm
still trying to do the conflict, managing conflict. That's maybe my like strongest suit right now.
Hey, listen, man. Let me tell you something. I think most people. Thank you for that. I'm giving you a little heart there for it. But most people, it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? Celeste, what do you think? Your thoughts, if I can. Is she there? I'm spelling the last name Long. There you go. I don't like to mess
Yeah.
up names.
Um, uh, Long Bucko
Okay,
is
thank you.
the,
All right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm a little sensitive on this one because I've been having some just personal conflict in life.
Gotcha.
So I'm
Gotcha.
actually really listening.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? That's okay. And I get it. I truly do. And I appreciate your honesty. Yeah, thank you. Yep. And so, just from a leadership perspective, I think the thing we really want to walk away from with is that we don't want to leave conflict undealt with. You know what I mean? And I think the reason why is because it becomes a mountain. You know, like say from a molehill to a mountain or whatever. And so as a leader, that's where the whole active listening thing kind of kicks in. I need to kind of hear what's really going on, you know, what's taking place. Because, you know, whenever you're in the people business, it just takes work to deal with people. And I laugh when I say that, but it's the truth. That's that because, and the reason why is we all bring different perspectives to the table. And often it's not related to work, it's related to life. Experiences that we have, you know, and all of that. And so now we're not just negotiating work related stuff, we're negotiating personal perceptions. And so as a leader, we need to understand, you know, like Desiree, I was thinking about what you were saying. You know, some people are just naturally slightly combative. I think some folks, anybody know anybody like that? Am I the only person ever meet people that just are just naturally combative? You can say hi and they're like, why? Why are you saying hi? I just saw you and I just want to say hello. I'm sorry, I didn't want to mess up your day by saying hi. You know, and what I found in my work, that typically that person has something deeper going on in their lives. You shouldn't respond that way to the most basic, simplistic statements. So I, as an expert, which I'm not the expert, but from what I see and sense and know, okay, that person is dealing with some interpersonal turmoil, which could stem from a million things. It could stem from upbringing. It could stem from a bad relationship. It could stem from, you know, things that may have interacted in their lives. You know, so I like, you know, what Zach said. He said, I'm not just an expert. I'm not really an expert, and neither am I, Zach. None of us are. But I think what I try to do with my work is let's not sweep it under the rug. I don't know who came up with that statement. I don't know what that purpose of that statement is, but it's like real popular. You know, let's put it out and have a conversation about it. So that's why I put that one as one of the four. I think that's important for us to keep in mind and keep in our back pocket, because it is a signal. And then when you go, like you were saying, Zach, about when it being organizational, then we have to really work on it, because the goal of an organizational setting is not to operate in conflict, is to operate in like a continuity, a flow where we're working together to produce an outcome. And we can't serve folks if we're constantly in conflict with each other. That just doesn't work. That's like one of the things, the side projects that we're working on a lot here is this thing called, you know, building a winning culture. And I've actually created some modules around it because, you know, organizational team is just like a sports team. If that team doesn't work at working together, they start working independently. Okay? So anyway, so that's conflict. So again, this is really important. Conflict isn't always the problem. It could be a communication breakdown between team members, clear expectations and competing priorities, unresolved emotions or lack of trust. All right? Genuinely different perspectives that need to be heard. All right? But this thing here with the leader is important. I always like to give a few things with the leader, and that is, you know, the goal isn't to win the conflict. Please write this last thing down. The goal is to protect the relationship while addressing the issue directly with integrity. That's ultimately the goal. All right? It really is. Yeah. Well, Kendra, I'll tell you right now, friend, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Because we got way too much going on. I'm a little concerned about, I don't want to go too deep, but I'm just a little concerned about the psyche of our nation right now. I'll just leave it at that. All right? And I like what Carla was saying. Try to understand everyone's point of view and like work towards us. This is a friend of mine. He was actually a pastor. He had this statement he used to say that was pretty cool. And he said this: let's agree to disagree agreeably. I thought that was so cool. You know, let's agree to disagree agreeably. So that way we're not, you know, we can come back and visit this, but we don't have to be in battle with each other right now. We don't. Celeste, do you have your hand up? I see the hand there. Yes, go right ahead, hon. I'm sorry, I call people hun. This is my natural nature to say. I got to stop calling people hun, because I don't know if everybody maybe not like that. Go ahead, Celeste. I'm saying your name.
It's endearing to me, so
Yeah.
I'm fine
Okay.
with that.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have any additional wisdom, but just what I gleaned from that, and even interpersonally, I would add, it's amazing how quickly it can escalate.
Yes.
And
Yes. Mm-hmm.
if you're not clear in the beginning,
Yep.
because I was kind of just being playful, like we're gonna talk about this, right? We're gonna cool off for a week, right?
Yep.
But that ended up being too much
Mm-hmm.
time, and it wasn't dishonesty, it was just
Mm-hmm.
too
Yep.
much time without addressing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um,
I get it. I get it.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. And you know what?
And
I'll tell you something. That what you're saying, absolutely. Absolutely. And anything else you want to add to it?
um, I guess I would just piggyback on what you just said, and perhaps in today's heightened um, society, you could say
Yes.
that that's even more
Yeah.
at play.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yep. Yep.
the people are reactionary. So,
Yeah. I to be honest with you, and here I go. Let me get on my soapbox. Thank you so much, Celeste. I appreciate that. And
mm,
I think social media
thank you.
plays into I think social media plays into it a lot too. Because it's a safe place for people to start arguments. And I just, can I say something to y'all? Can I just put a Coach D-ism out there? Two things. One, protect your character and protect your integrity. Don't let any societal things shift that. I share that with my children. I share that with my close friends. I said because in times of conflict, it's easy. It's so easy to go with the societal norms. But great leadership and great personal development is saying, you know what, I'm going to be who I am in spite of this. So that's just my 2 cents there. I can write a book on it, but I ain't gonna go there because we got some issues going on in our country right now. Like, woo, Lord help us. All right, so let me go on. Thank you so much for that, Celeste. I appreciate your candor, your honesty, and that's what I always want with this group. I want us to realize this is a safe space, okay? Because sometimes we need to have those conversations. We all do, and so thank you for your candor and honesty. Appreciate it. You know, so this is just I like to give stuff. So it's just conflict. Pause, ask, understand, solve, and establish next steps. Let's just pause. Kind of an emotional intelligence tool, you know. And I love my youngest son, Alexander. I love all my kids, all 4 of those rascals. I told them they're gonna pay me back though. It's an ROI for all this college costs and all that. I was like, I want a big chunk of your money when you start getting jobs. For expensive rascals. But I put myself out there one time, and yeah, it's huge. Yeah, thank you, it is, Cheryl. Thank you. And I asked him a question. Who will you? Sometimes you put yourself out there. This is not conflict, but just asking. So I noticed there was something kind of going on, a little bit something there with he and I. And I said, okay, let me go ask him. I said, okay, Alex. I said, boy, this is a tough thing for a parent to ask, but sometimes you ask it. What would you like to see changed in me? Can you imagine asking your child that question? What would you like to see changed in me? He said, Dad, you got an hour? And I said, that ain't right, man. I'm a good dad. I ain't that bad. He said, no, you're a good dad. He said, Dad, if you can just change one thing. I said, go ahead. I'm breathing. Tell me. He said, sometimes your response to things, like if I say something to you, you're a little too daddish. Like you want to jump in and you want to give me advice and all that kind of stuff. And he said, I don't always want that, you know? And he said, and then sometimes it could be you're sensitive to things. So I said, okay, cool. I said, what do you think I need to do to change it? And he explained, well, Dad, just change your response. And sometimes just, I said, okay, cool. I said, I've taken a few active listening courses so I can do better. I teach the stuff too, so I definitely should do better at my kids. And so I said, we're going to go 30 days. I'm going to work on it. And at the end of 30 days, give me an evaluation. And so I was like making sure I was working on this stuff. At the end of 30 days, I said, okay, Alex, how'd I do? He gave me the biggest hug and said, Dad, I love what I'm seeing. Thank you. And then he thanked me. He said, thank you for even asking me. He said, some parents will never ask their kids that question. I said, listen, man, I first of all, I love you, man. I was there the moment you were born. I said, but secondly, I want to be an example to you of what I'm trying to teach you. And if I can't humble myself, how do I expect you to humble yours? You know? And he sent me, this was like a year and a half ago. Then he sent me this letter recently. These kids, sometimes they bring tears to my eyes when they send you stuff, but just really thanking me for the example. And I'm proud, I'm honored. So just, Paul's acts, understand is a big one. I think somebody mentioned that one in our conversation. Just understanding where people are coming from. Now, this is really important because understanding doesn't always mean agreement. It's just that now you understand. This person is this way because of childhood trauma. This person is doing this because of a situation that just took place. This person is doing this because they had a bad work experience somewhere else, and so they're real apprehensive at this job because they think what happened on the last job will happen on this job. So once you start understanding, oh, okay, I get it. That gives me a different perspective to work with this person, and then solve together. Can't solve it alone, and then establish next steps. Okay, these are just the 4 categories that I think that if we can get these babies, we're gonna be okay as leaders. Okay, from our last year. This one here, I put it in the middle. I could put it up front. We probably wouldn't have got to the rest of them. And that's emotional intelligence. Okay. Leadership isn't just about what you know. It's about how people experience you. Please write that down as a note. Okay. And I think that's what separates leaders from everybody else. Great. I don't know if you ever read the book Good to Great. If you haven't, I would encourage you. It's an old book. Read that book. Phenomenal. Because one thing I learned from reading that book is all of those leaders interacted with the people in a way that their experience with them made them better people. Just the experience. All right? Okay? And it says, before you lead others, learn to lead yourself. Can I ask you all something to think about? Because I know I'm a big fan of it myself. Just become a student of leadership. Read some books. Like I read a lot of old books because I like some of the writings from a long time ago. Like one of my favorite books is a book entitled How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think it's Dale, and I can't remember one of them Carnegies. It's all them Carnegies. But I like reading books like that. The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. How to Move My Cheese. That was a great little book. But the more you study leadership, the more proficient you become in it. So it's not so I don't want my leadership to all be in my face experiential stuff. Sometimes you learn from other people. Like one of my all-time leadership heroes is a guy named John Wooden. He was the coach of the UCLA Bruins back in the 60s and 70s. And he came up with this thing called the Pyramid of Leadership. You may want to Google it and check it out. It's pretty good. But he was asked one time, why was his team so successful? Why so successful? And he said this, customized motivation. I think we talked about this before. He said customized motivation. And the interviewer said, can you explain what that means? And he said, I don't coach all my players the same way. Some players need hugs. Some players need evidence. Show me, coach, why I should do this. Some players need push. He said, so we created a system within our team where we identify what that player needs. And that's what we give them. Now, in the areas where they're falling short, we help them develop. But we pour into what makes them click. That man won 7 NCAA championships in a row. Nobody else has come close. and he won 10 overall. And so, that's to me falls right in the line with emotional intelligence, right into the line of it. Yep. You see, and so let's take a look at this. Is another good book by Daniel Goleman. He's kind of like one of the key contributors to this message of emotional intelligence. All right, and if you ever heard him speak, he's a phenomenal speaker. He's not he's not like a just super speaker. His knowledge is so amazing that you can just listen to him and grow from what he's saying. It's not like he's the most articulate person in the world. That's what I'm saying, trying to say. All right, I want to ask y'all a question. Come off of here for just a moment. Why is how people experience you important? All right, why is it? Is that important at all, as in from your perspective? And if so, why?
From my perspective, it is the connection,
Yeah.
the evolution of when you are emotionally attached, or you endear that person, it hits home, or you might encompass that message better.
Yeah. Bingo. That's it, man. Yep. Yep. And please keep in mind, thank you, Israel. Appreciate that, man. And this is what we're talking about is not you got to I think I got to be careful because these trainings, you got to be careful. It's not about being perfect. Do you understand what I mean? It's about working on these skills in such a way that I have access to them when I need them. Because we're human and we have flaws. It's just the nature of it, I mean, some of us don't have flaws. Like, Carla don't have any flaws. I know she's flawless. And Miriam definitely don't have any flaws. I know, I can tell, man, you ain't got no flaws. Dr. Collins, you don't have any flaws either, Dr. Collins, I can tell. Diana Moncada, you don't have any flaws either. I'm just kind of pointing some of y'all out.
So, Coach,
Yes.
I think how people experience me is very important because people are always going to remember how you made them feel. Not really what you're wearing or what you said, but it's how you made that impression on them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's huge.
Yeah.
That absolutely. See, I mentioned to y'all I used to work with youth. You want to talk about how folks feel, the experience. With youth, it's all about the experience. They don't give a bag of beans about your program, your grant, or nothing. If they don't feel like you have any interest in them as a person, you can have $10 million and they won't do nothing. But the moment that they see you care about them, you're willing to even work with them through their stuff, because sometimes they bring in stuff to the table, then everything changes. Everything changes because they've experienced you. They experience you. I've had so many young people. To this day, I still get calls from some of them and text messages and emails just thanking for being there when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Not because of the program, not because of the grant that we got, not because of the funding from the state. This is because of us. And so that's really important. Yeah, that is, yes. Yeah, that's it. Absolutely,
And
Carla.
coach, I'm glad you said that, because I think we forget that we play a role in everything we do, and give ourselves credit for that, so we can keep going.
Yep, that's it. We play a role, and you all being here to me tells me you're not just interested in leadership. You're great leaders, and I mean that. I'm not trying to just say it because I have nothing better to say, because you don't have to be here. You know what I mean? You can say, I don't do this, but AFOP sets this up and they bring trainers in like me, and you show up. You're physically here. So kudos to you for that. And I would say this, as exciting as I love training and doing all that, don't let this be the only experience. Like sometime going to some of those free seminars that's out there, or read a book. You know what I mean? Just keep growing, because like I'm teaching you all and I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep going. I'm thinking about what's my next book now. Looking for a new book to read. A new seminar to attend. I got invited to a leadership seminar this Friday Very expensive seminar, but I'm not paying for it. The folks that invited me, they said, you know, we got you. You come on and show up. I said, you're my kind of people. But it's going to be some leaders talking about leadership, and guess who's going to be sitting there taking notes? I'm not speaking there. I'm not even invited to speak. I'm just going to learn, you know? So, yeah. So that's it. So thank you for your comments in the chat feature. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. For time's sake, let me move on. So this one is huge. So, and so EQ, we talk about emotional intelligence, but keep in mind EQ is emotional quotient. And what they're connecting it or comparing it to is IQ, intelligence quotient. All right? And so I was actually telling my daughter, I mentioned my daughter's here visiting, and she has her job. She has a very high pressure job because she travels all over the world. She convened these meetings with global leaders. I don't know how you do that when you're 23 and 24. She started doing it young. And so she's got to manage a lot. And I told her, I said, Sophia, have you ever heard of EQ before? She said, no, what's that, Dad? And I explained it to her. And I said, it's a topic that a lot of leaders are looking at now because they realize that to be effective as a leader, I need to have some emotional quotient. It doesn't mean that I'm emotionless as a person, but the way I respond to situations is I kind of understand what I'm doing with this stuff. You know, some self-regulation, some self-awareness, things like that. You know, so your leadership EQ matters. Know yourself, manage yourself, read others, connect intentionally. All right? You know, and connect intentionally. And then remember the two things I talked about at length during our training. Self-regulation. Anybody remember what that is? Now I'm testing you. Self-regulation. Come on, somebody tell me. That's the ability to do what? Regulate
and control your emotions.
Bingo. There you go, Brittany. Regulate your emotions. And then self-awareness. What was self-awareness? Come on, y'all. Somebody remember self-awareness is an awareness of my what? Anybody remember?
My behavior,
Yeah, my
attitude.
state. Yeah, my state in this moment. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I may be at a real even kill emotionally, and then sometimes I could be 10 levels up high. So if I have a conversation with someone and I'm 10 levels high, that may not be the best time to have that conversation. You know what I mean? So I got to be aware of when, you know, like there's an awareness of myself to know when I'm supposed to have these conversations. Yeah, Jody said I need a self-regulation sometime. We all do. All right. Now, what I'm trying to do, keep in mind, this may seem strange, but what I'm trying to do is help you understand what great leaders do. This is leadership. You know, this is next level. Like, it's not that you're, you know, aborting yourself on the individual level. Like I'm not, you know, I just whatever your ideas and your thoughts and all that. But what you're saying is, I have some form of control over how I respond to situations, and that's why I said one of my coaches and guys on my team and mentees as well, Pierre said, my response is my responsibility. And then I added on to it because I've been saying for the last 25 years, I can't control what another person is going to say or do, but I can control my response to it. Yeah. Is that a perfect scenario? No. But I'll tell you one thing, you'll decrease your stress by working at it. Just like I go to the gym and lift those weights, and just like I try to eat a healthy diet, I got to work on how I respond to things. That's work too. You know? Just like everything else. That's why I said that y'all wouldn't want the 15-year-old Daryl to train you. I've probably been in an argument with half of y'all. For no reason. Okay? And then the focus was self-empowerment. That's what we did last. I want y'all to realize this. You got to do something from time to time to empower yourself. I wish I could get this book into all of your hands because I'm telling you, self-care is just, God, it's necessary. It's needed. You know, I did a speech. I'm going to send a copy of the speech out to y'all. I don't know if I did or not, but I'll send it in Miami with a bunch of leaders down there. And it was a TED Talk like speech that, you know, I had 5 minutes to talk about self-care DNA. I mean, in 5 minutes, I had half that room ready to do a self-care plan. They were walking up to me, asking me questions because it empowered them to realize you can do self-care on your terms. And it's important. I had this person that was a VP for this big company, and he walked up to me and said, "Man, I'm gonna go back. My team, we're gonna work on this. He said, because we talk about wellness. He said, but you're not talking about wellness. That's the difference. You're talking about self-care." And I said, "You got it, didn't you?" I said, "Wellness is a byproduct. Self-care is how you get there." So people don't, they have a wellness program. I said, well, everybody not well right now. We need a self-care program. And then wellness is the outcome. But self-empowerment is you making sure that you empower yourself. So let's go on for time's sake because we're running out of time. So own your mindset, really. Own your leadership. Own your growth. Own your energy. And own your influence. Don't allow circumstances to determine your leadership attitude. You choose how to show up. All right, y'all? I hope y'all get me on this. Keep learning beyond the training room. Mastery is a daily practice, not a one-time event. That's what makes my heart so happy with y'all, because I see these sheets and I see what you're doing. I say, yes, that is so awesome. I got one yesterday, man. I was like, wow, incredible. Love that. And again, it wasn't required to turn it into me. I said, make sure you get it to your manager. But I love looking at them. I'm like, this is fantastic. Own your energy. Please circle that one. Own your energy. Protect the physical, emotional energy related to leading well. Lead well. Rest is a leadership strategy. Get some rest sometime. Take it easy. Because sometimes we're full of anxiety because we ain't resting enough. Get some sleep. Go to bed. I say that in all my self-care trainings. Go to bed. One of the greatest tech strategies you have to decrease stress is 8 hours of sleep. That little 4 hours ain't gonna do much for you. All right? And so protect your physical and emotional energy. Another thing, I'm gonna do this, my last little in the chat feature thing. Everybody, I did this once before, but I'm gonna do it again. Type in the chat feature, no. Go ahead right now. As many as y'all can pop. Just type no. Just type it in there. No. N-O. If you want to say it in a different language, go right ahead. You can say, sorry. Whatever. No. No. No can become a good friend because you don't have to do everything. See, I'm saying that because we're in the helps industry and we like to help. And people start knowing that we like to help. So I'm not just talking about work. I'm talking about outside of work. You don't want to burn out trying to do everything for everybody. Say no. It's funny. Warren Buffett was being interviewed one time. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world. And they said, what is one of your key success? He said, I've become very highly articulate at saying no. He said, I don't take on everything. He said, I don't. Jody said, I have a list of people you can. Jody, you are with me, Jody. Just give me that list. I'll send them a message. And Jody said no. Oh, my goodness. That's why I love this group. Y'all go along with my silliness. But I'd like to make these programs fun so they hopefully get good content here. But, and own your influence. Your behavior shapes your culture around you. Lead with awareness that others are watching and following. Okay? So own this stuff. And keep in mind, this video will be popped up on the page and you have access to it. So if you want to watch it again, you'll be willing I would say watch it again because this stuff here is really good content to help us become more effective as leaders. All right? So here's your leadership mastery model. 1, leading through change. Number 2, conflict resolution. Number 3, emotional intelligence. And number 4, self-empowerment. Help people navigate uncertainty with clarity and confidence. Turn difficult conversations into opportunities. Thank you, Israel. You said that. And to strengthen relationships. You know what I found this interesting? Not all the time, but sometimes. Some people, when it's in a conflicting situation, when that turns around, person becomes one of your biggest advocates. because they see that you handled the situation much better than other people. So you become a resource, and they get behind you. You see, and so and then emotional intelligence: lead yourself so that you can better lead others with empathy and awareness. Self-empowerment: take ownership of your growth, energy, mindset, and influence. Together, use these four areas. These four areas create more resilient, impactful, and sustainable leader. So I want to share those with you today. From these four workshops, when we did these, are really impactful. All right. And then, so this is when we show up at work. We change how we actively helping our people navigate change, conflict, how we're handling difficult conversations, emotional intelligence. What does our team actually experience when we interact with us as leaders, and self-empowerment? Are we modeling ownership, growth, and sustainability, and creating leaders to do the same? Somebody started off by saying this, and it's the truth when we were talking about those different researchers. The ultimate measure of training is change behavior, not retained content. Please write that down. When I shift into a new mode of doing things, that's the success of training. Not just retaining the content to say, hey, I remember that, but not doing it, but remember it. So that's the ultimate measure. So coming up to the end time-wise, all right? So don't let these concepts remain personal development ideas. Carry them back to your programs and teams. Ask your leadership team these 4 questions. This is a good one. Like I said, this is something you can sit down with your team and talk about. This is actually a good leadership meeting when you're talking to your, frontline supervisors and leadership team. This is a conversation you can have. All right. So you're going to lead change by, handle conflict by, strengthen my EQ by, and empower myself by. And there's the responses on the bottom. I don't have to read them off to you, but your leadership does not grow because you know more. Just keep this in mind about leadership. It grows because you do more with what you know. That's how we grow. I can have a basketball in my hand all day long. If I never take the shot at the basket, then I can't hit the basket. I'll just be walking around with a ball in my hand. Got to shoot the jumper. And I have a pretty good jumper too, by the way. I was a pretty good basketball player. 522 years ago. All right, my friends, we are coming. This it now. We're excited because I'm coming back. And for those who may wonder, and again, it's not, just let's do the same thing all over again. No, we got new stuff. And we're going to go a little deeper. It's going to be narrower in content. So each of the modules are going to have maybe 1 or 2 things we're going to go deep on. And, so I'm really looking forward to that and having you sign up and get on board and just continuing this conversation, which is great because to me, it's great to have the year, but with 2 years, we can really take this thing to another level. So Kendra has her hand up. So
hey
right
everyone. Yes, thanks, Coach D. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is a survey that I'd love for you all to fill out. You may have missed it. It was in that email that was titled, hey, did you see that email from Kendra? So did you see that email from Kendra? Maybe not, because I only got 1 response to the survey. So go ahead and fill that out. And I wanted to follow up on Coach D's foreshadowing of next year and just reassure you all. I know this year was a lot, so we are making some tweaks, like in the homework load especially, just making the mastery assignments optional, but really still encouraging people to do them because they are so helpful. But just focusing more on participation and making sure the recordings go up so that we know that it's really hard to make every call, but we want to make those recordings available to those of you whose schedules are just really challenging. And just emphasizing the value of these calls. That it's not just the content, but it's the opportunity to collaborate and commiserate and network. And I think the evaluation will be slightly different next year, where there will be like more of a final exam, but nothing too challenging. Like we'll make sure that you all have what you need to pass the exam. So just consider signing up. Send us your feedback, and yeah, we'll see you at a conference in Denver.
Yeah, and I just like to add on to what she's saying. Like this year, we did the mastery assignments, and but next year they are truly mastery assignments. They're not necessarily turn them into me, turn them into anybody. It's just for you to go back and work on, and then we're going to definitely make it get a little bit more condensed as far as the focus, so that we can go deep into it. So I hope to see quite a few of you back. Would love to work with you again. It's been a great year, and thank you all so much. I'm like I said, I'm just honored, and as you're doing, the survey with Kendra, if you have any questions for me, any comments, like I said, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm okay with that. Just like, hey, coach, I would love to see more of this, or I'd like to see less of that. Hey, you got access to me. I'm not just here. I'm not the master of the universe. I'm just the ATI trainer. And so I can learn and grow like all of you. So thank you so much. God bless you. And we'll see you in Denver. Now, we'll let you know in Denver, I'm going to be over at that hot dog stand that they have moose dogs and they have reindeer dogs. They got that right downtown Denver. So that's where y'all going to see me. I love that little stand down there. So thank you all so much.
Have a great day.
Have a good day. Thank you for the words, and thank you for the words, and thank y'all for the words. Thank you. You guys are
Bye, guys.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you,
Bye.
Kendra, for coordinating everything too. Appreciate you. All right.
Anytime.
All right. Take care now. Bye.
Bye.
I want to save this before I go. There we go. Make sure we save that chat. All right.